So full time at Chadwicks Wexford Park. It was Wexford 4 points, Dublin 124. And yeah, I suppose, I think everyone really did expect Dublin to win this game as convincingly. Maybe not as convincingly as they did. I don't think, 23-point scoreline is, that is quite a scoreline really for Dublin to put up in the early rounds of the Leinster Championship. But, this is what Dublin were doing for years, really, in the Jim Gavin era, in the early days under Desi Farrell as well, even under Pat Gilroy, even in Dublin's, not so glory days going back as far as, 2009, 2010. Dublin, okay, not 2010, but, Dublin did put up some big scores in the Leinster Senior Football Championship, and they do so again here today against Wexford in the end. As I said before, a commanding result in the end, 23 points. It does not look good from a Wexford point of view. And yes, there certainly is, a conversation to be had about why this game was shown on Sky ahead of a game like Louth versus Kildare, which is going to be on tomorrow, ahead of a game like Clare and Limerick, which, I believe went down to the absolute wire and was meant to be a very, very good game. 117 to 115 that game finished. So, look, there are them arguments that can be there. There's argument, I've seen a lot of people online saying, oh, well, why are Wexford playing this game? Look, you have to remember, Wexford beat Offaly, and Offaly were very close to staying in Division 2. They were a kick of a ball away from staying in Division 2 and essentially would have been playing in the same division as this Dublin team next year. So, I think there's a lot to be remembered. I know I've seen a lot of people criticising Wexford and even criticising Dublin as well. I mean, a lot of strange people out there on the internet, make no mistake about it. Look, I've been one to criticise Dublin quite a lot this year, and deservedly so, for the way that they've played at times. The style of play, the lack of variation, the lack of urgency. And yes, they've had injuries and all the rest, and they certainly have played its part. I mean, you've seen the difference that Con O'Callaghan makes to the team. You see the difference that Owen Merchant makes to the team, Robbie McDade as well, and the variation in Dublin's play. But, for me in the past, it was always just about that lack of fight, not really. There was fight against Monaghan, yeah, for sure. But in a lot of the other games, that fight and determination wasn't quite there. But look, you have to praise Dublin today because they were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. A little bit slow out of the get-go, 2 points to 1 after 15 minutes. You were kind of watching this game thinking, Jesus, this is not a great game at all. This is quite a bit of a bore fest. But once Dublin found their groove, once they started to get into it, they were by far and away the better team. And it was very, very clear, from the get-go, really. Once Dublin built up a 2-3-4 point lead, that this was going to be, a bit of a drilling, really, for this Wexford team. The physicality of the Dublin players was very notable to see. The movement, the way they moved the ball, conditioning wise, they were far more superior. It was just far more obvious. It was like, in many ways, it was like watching a cobra strangle a sausage dog. There was just two complete, a heavyweight going up against a featherweight. It was just two complete opposite ends of the spectrum, really, out on the pitch. And look, you can't take, it's hard to I know maybe you can criticize Wexford and say, look, they should have changed their kick-out strategy. Definitely. They kept going long time and time again, and it clearly wasn't working. Dublin, I don't even know. I think Wexford won like 2 or 3 kickouts in the entirety of the game. But Dublin consistently winning the kickouts, consistently moving forward, building forward, breaking with pace. And the majority of their scores came off kickouts today. No doubt about that. And for Shane Roche and for Wexford, they probably should have changed that, but then again, what do you do? Dublin were pressing up then in the second half. Do you go short? You can't really do that because Dublin will probably turn you over there, and that's a risky game. I don't really know, and obviously Shane Roche is the manager, and it's certainly his job to figure those things out. But it's one of those things where this, that's just the level that Wexford are at. They were third from bottom in Division 4. Fair play to them for beating Offaly. That was a huge win, and you have to give them credit. But look, if Dublin had played Wexford before the Offaly game, you probably would have predicted something like this. Let's be perfectly honest. This would have been the scoreline that you probably would have went for. But that's just how it is. But look, Dublin were brilliant. More variation in their play, more kick passing. Brian Fenton, different gravy, absolute altogether. I mean, he was fantastic in the game. 5 points, 4 in the first half. He was just exceptional. He was absolutely brilliant, winning so much ball around the middle. But obviously, his composure on the ball, some of his points that he kicked as well were brilliant. And he was brilliant. And Con O'Callaghan, once he got into the game really in the second half, once he found his groove, once he got his goal, he was brilliant, and he was picking up, ball in that pocket of the space time and time again. And he's the man that should be playing there. And you see, like, when Con O'Callaghan was out of the team, it was Kieran Kilkenny who was playing at 14, but Kieran Kilkenny for me is far more effective in the half forward line because he sort of links it all together. He's that sort of piece of the jigsaw, he's what puts it all together. So when you put him at 14, you're taking away Kieran Kilkenny at 11 or 12. He was playing at 12 today. In that half forward line, so you're limiting his influence. So by having Con back in there, you've almost got two players back because you're getting the best out of Kieran Kilkenny then being pushed back to the half forward line. Dean Rock, brilliant. Costello, brilliant before he went off. You can't really fault any of the Dublin players there at all. John Small getting himself a score as well. Lorcan O'Dell coming off the bench. So it was very, very positive stuff indeed. Sharon says here, I'm glad to see Dublin cruise through a game. Yeah, they certainly did. How's things? Match Attacks Kid. Hope all as well. I'm going to the Loud v Kildare game up the Lilies. Yeah, that will be a great game. And it's a shame it's not on TV. And as I said before, there is a conversation to be had there as to why Sky had Monaghan versus Down and Dublin versus Wexford. I mean, we knew there were going to be one-sided games. I tweeted about it before the games. There were going to be two very one-sided games. I barely watched the Monaghan Down game. You know what? My girlfriend was watching TV as I was watching the Monaghan versus Down game. She was watching the Kardashians. And I have to say, I had more interest in that than Monaghan versus Down. I'm going to be honest. That's just the truth, and that just goes to show, unfortunately. I don't know why Sky had these two games on, like Clare versus Limerick, Loud versus Kildare. It'd be two cracking games, but it is what it is. Look, in terms of the game, Dublin were brilliant. But you can't get too carried away either. Like, obviously Sharon says here as well, I would nearly expect Dublin to win All-Ireland after that statement. Wouldn't go as far as that just yet. They're still playing that man-to-man system at the back that wasn't tested at all. You could see the space in behind, like in Dublin's sort of full back line at times, but Wexford just didn't have the players and didn't have the ball to kick in there. They just couldn't create any opportunities. But coming up against maybe like a Kildare Meath or potentially Westmeath, obviously we'll see what happens with the semi-finals, maybe allowed. There will certainly be bigger tests to come, and I'm certainly not going to get too carried away on the basis of this performance. But what it is good to see is that Dublin treated this game very important. They were good from the get-go. There was no messing around. Like in the Wexford game last year, that was sort of the start of the decline of Dublin. There was a lot of messing around in that game, poor pass, and they just weren't at the races, and it was a very unlike Dublin performance. Because if you remember in the Jim Gavin era, Dublin would beat teams 20, 25 points in Leinster consistently, even when they didn't play well. So, I think getting that consistency back, I think, is important, and getting back what Dublin have done well is important. On Far says, well, wasn't that much better, much bigger tests to come, but some green shoots. Con is a machine. How we've missed him. A good day, and absolutely very good day at the office from a Dublin perspective. Can't complain too much with that. Praise them when they play well, criticize them when they play poorly. That's the way it should be. And as I said, a lot of people saying, "Oh, Dublin were way too defensive up against the Division 4 team." I didn't see that at all. But well, obviously everyone has their own takes on the game. Yeah, fair play to Dublin. For Wexford, look, what can you do? They tried. You seen them running around. You seen them putting in effort. It wasn't like they didn't try. And you know what I mean. It's just one of those things. Unfortunately, the gap was there to see in Gaelic football. There's quite a big gap, and that was there to see. But as I said, Wexford beat Offaly en route to this game. I'm sure Offaly would have given Dublin a better game. I'm sure of it. But Wexford, you have to commend them and praise them because they beat that same team last week. So fair play to them. Fair play to Dublin. Subscribe if you're new. Like the video if you enjoy the content. And there'll be more reactions videos to come soon. So I'll see you all later.